This is the Silver Divorce Podcast, broadcast from the Whitfield Media Group studios in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Please follow this show and share it with people you know who are facing divorce. We are proudly brought to you by our title sponsor, the Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and show sponsor, Medicare Misty. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is the area's leading provider of multi-specialty orthopedic care. Using innovative surgical techniques and technologies, our team of specialists deliver exceptional results backed by exceptional patient care. Learn more at sportmed.com. Medicare Misty is a real person who can help answer your Medicare questions. Get real help from her team at medicaremisty.com. And I'm your host, Lisa McCluskey, and now let's podcast. Well, this week is a very special week for me. It marks the 1-year anniversary of going live with the Silver Divorce Podcast. And I'm celebrating because when it started out, you never know if you're going to make it a full year. And 90% of podcasts don't make it a full year. So I'm very grateful to those of you who have listened, shared the podcast, followed, and looking forward to bringing you more great episodes in the future. But today I am pleased to be joined by author and relationship coach, Dr. Renee Gordon. She has devoted her life to helping people build powerful relationships in their personal and their business life. She has many books. I think she has 11 books, but we're going to talk about her book today, which is Swipe Right for Mr. Right. It is the best kept secret to attracting your love online. It is a bestseller on Amazon, and it has helped thousands of couples connect. Welcome, Dr. Renee.
Thank you, Lisa, so much for this wonderful golden opportunity.
I am so pleased you're here. Many of the listeners of the Silver Divorce Podcast, they are either in the process of divorce or they've been divorced after decades of marriage. And one thing we know is that many of them are wondering if they will be alone for the rest of their lives. Yet, this whole new dating scene is very bewildering. You don't know where to start. You hear about the apps, and how do you engage with those? And what are some of the things that we should be worried about? And I know that your book has provided thousands of people with a guideline of where to start and what to look out for. And we're going to get into that today. But before we do, you have a very powerful story. Not only did you survive stage 4 cancer, but you also survived 9 engagements before you found your Mr. Right. So would you share with our listeners your story?
Well, the story is that, yes, I was engaged 9 times before I even went online. So for me to find, I have a lot of friends where I came from in Los Angeles, and a lot of times people would introduce me to other people, like dinner parties and events at different restaurants and things like that. And they would try to sit me next to someone that they thought that we would be the right match.
Yeah.
Yes, we were We were right for the right match. Yes, on paper, but for the long term, it wasn't a long term relationship. And I knew subconsciously, which subconscious, it runs our whole life. It's like 85% of who we are. The 15% is our conscious mind. And my subconscious kept saying, is this person going to be with you through thick and thin, literally? And subconsciously, it wasn't. And I know I did the right thing by kind of dropping the ball 2 or 3 weeks before the wedding after all the invitations were sent. And these were high-end weddings, at the Beverly Hills Hotel, the Four Seasons, and invitations are sent, and reservations are made, plane tickets are bought, and hotel reservations are made, as things like that, and people coming from all over the country and also the world. So
that takes a lot of courage.
Yes, and I thought I'd rather, after the 9th engagement, and I broke that off a week and a half before the wedding, I said I'd rather be single and happy than married and miserable.
Yeah.
So these were people of notoriety as well. So they were really, really upset.
I can imagine. Mm-hmm. But it really helped you to go where you are today, mm-hmm. and to write your book. swipe for Mr. Right. And one of the things that we know in the United States, about 75% of people who divorce remarry, with roughly half of those remarrying within about 5 years. And also we know that men, they're more likely to remarry more quickly than women. And the remarriage rate is somewhat trending down for women. Women are more hesitant to remarry, I think largely because they have a hard time finding that Mr. Right. But unfortunately, the divorce rate for second marriages is around 60 to 67%. And, sometimes we think that divorce rate is so high because people rush into remarriage. They tend to look for that person that they just divorced. They marry the same type of person if they haven't stepped back and they haven't done a very thoughtful process and thinking through who's the right person for me. And so in your book, though, one of the things that you emphasized before you jump into that dating pool is loving yourself. Could you talk about the importance of learning to love yourself and some of the ways that we can do that?
Yes, loving yourself is so important. It is the foundation of finding your lasting love. And I know that when I got married, I've been married now 25 years. April 5th will be our 25th anniversary from.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And we met on Match.com.
Oh.
So it was not easy to find. It was easy to find a person. Actually, I had 2,734 people from April of 2000 to September of 2000 wanting to go out with me.
So attracting people wasn't the problem.
That's not a problem. No, I never had a problem with someone asking me to get married. Actually, I turned down maybe 6 other proposals. And it just seemed like these were men ready to get married. They weren't the one for me to get married to.
Yeah.
And a lot of women ask me, I've been dating this guy for 3 or 4 years and then we broke up and within 3 months he married someone else. It's because you weren't the one he was going to marry. And there is a distinction because I've talked to a lot of men. I know I'm just going off the question real quick, but I've asked men in the last 10, 15 years because I get that question a lot. What made you marry this person or what made you propose to this person and you were dating this other woman for a few years? This is the one I want to have children with. This is the one I see myself being married to for the rest of my life. This is the one I want to introduce to my parents. And these were men that were serious about getting married. And they were the marrying type. They are the marrying type if you're the right woman. And I'm going to go off segue for a moment. Who do you have to be to attract that right person? If you want somebody kind, loving, sweet, generous, are you being that way? You want somebody who's respectful, committed, forthright, has high integrity, respectful, again, great communication. Who are you being? And in the center of all this, when I was engaged to these 9 men, which were all great on paper, they look fantastic. I said, what am I doing wrong to attract these great people on paper? But it wasn't for the long term. And I thought to myself, maybe who I am, I'm not that person. So I got a lot of work done on myself. I hired 2 therapists, had my butt kicked around a little bit, a box of Kleenex every time I went to the appointments. And I said, what do I have to do? And so I figured it out in my head subconsciously. Now, I didn't know. I just knew that I had to get some work done on me, which I did. I'm so glad I did. Because so many people, as you said, 60% still get divorced after the second marriage, is because they put very little work in their profile. They just know they want to get married again and want to have that companion. But they put more emphasis on planning a vacation than they do, who am I going to marry and what type of person. They're looking at the person as superficial. Does he have a doctor? Is he a lawyer? Is he an architect? Does he have a yacht? Does he a member of a country club? Or is he good looking? Things that doesn't really matter. What matters is for the endurance of a relationship, who do you have to be? Now, I've been married 25 years. That's a long time, but as I said to you earlier, it's kind of like being married to my boyfriend because it seems like it's so easy. And he's so easy to be with, and it's effortless. Well, we do put effort. I mean, because we work together as well. But it is the 5 ingredients to a successful relationship, even without being romantically involved, even with children, family members, colleagues and associates, is not just loving yourself, but love, respect, acknowledgement, attention, and open communication. When you have those 5 secret ingredients, it is the key to having a successful relationship, but not just that, but with your children, because you're in a leadership role, or in business, whether you're running a department, running departments with an S, or running a company, man or woman. You have to have those 5 ingredients. You can't be the boss and pushing people around. You have to have encouragement to your employees, encouragement to your children, encouragement to your husband or your wife. I mean, women just want to vent sometimes to their husbands, and all they want is encouragement. They don't want advice, and they don't want you to fix it. They just want you to be there to encourage them. So I'm going to get back to your original question, Lisa. I'm so sorry I segued. The loving yourself is the foundation of finding lasting love. And in Finding Your Love at Last, my very first book, I teach people, before you attract that right person, who do you have to become? Who do you have to become to be that right person? If you don't go in deep and accept yourself now, you may end up attracting relationships that mirror your insecurities, your fears, or even your past wounds. So think about it. When you feel whole and confident, you radiate the energy that attracts emotional, healthy, high quality partners. But when you date from a place of loneliness, being desperate, or self-doubt, you risk settling for less than what you deserve. So in the current book I have, Swipe for Mr. Right, I guide readers through the self-discovery to exercises to clarify what are your core values, what are your non-negotiables, what kind of relationship truly aligns with your life goals, and are you ready for that special love, or are you looking for someone to fix a void, that hollowness inside of you? And when you love yourself first, you set a higher standard and attract someone who you will respect, cherish, and uplift you. Now, I need to share this with your loyal listeners, is that when you love yourself, it doesn't mean self-absorbed, conceited, looking at yourself in the mirror and just it's all about you. I'm not talking about narcissism. I'm talking about truly loving yourself, forgiving yourself, and accept yourself for who you are.
Yeah, it seems to me, I like what you said about the difference is finding a special love versus just filling a void. And if you feel as though you are worthy of that kind of love because you have taken the time, as you suggest, to do that self-discovery, and you feel worthy of that type of love, then you're not going to settle for somebody less than just because you want to fill a void.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think oftentimes coming off of that, I was married 34 years, and to think I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life is scary. Mm-hmm. Some people are perfectly comfortable with it, but a lot of people really want that companionship. Mm-hmm. But it is important, as you said, to take that time to do the self-discovery. And from the perspective of taking that time to do the self-discovery, do you recommend a certain time period? Do you say, just take a step back for 6 months, take a step back for a year? What do you tell people in those instances?
Well, before, when I first started, if someone who was married for 20 years, I say, give yourself 10 years to date again, find yourself. But then in this day and age with computers and things like that, and everything's moving so quickly, it's faster to hire someone like myself to help you, coach you through the process. Now, people say, why do I need a coach? Well, if you were a little boy or a little girl, if you were a little boy, you had a soccer coach or a baseball coach, or if you ran track and field. I ran track and field, and I had a coach. I wanted to excel, which I did. I was all city and regionals and all that stuff. But it was a coach to discipline my practice, what I was eating, my look at watching the clock and things like that. And it's somebody who I was accountable to. When you have a relationship coach, you get through it faster. And if you don't go through it faster, you get married again. and then divorce, and then you get married again. Now, here's my little secret. One of the main things is that, yes, the 9 guys that I was engaged to, I wasn't aligned with the values and beliefs, which I know about now, obviously, because I've been married 25 years. And when I met my husband, Jim, I knew innately that this is the one, through thick and thin. Now, subconsciously, as I said earlier, 85% of our life is run by our subconscious. Subconsciously, because I have so many clothes and shoes and purses, and I have 5 aquariums. One of them is 380 gallons. Now, if I would have gotten engaged and married to 9 different men, that means it would be 9 different mansions. I would be moving all these aquariums and all the clothes. And because my fish, I mean, they're big, African discus and things like that, which I don't want to go into about animals now. But because they're a living, breathing thing, and I had my little dog, she was only like 4 pounds. The point is that moving these fish tanks were such a pain. And I'm very grounded, and I love that word. This other, not only grounded who I am as a woman, but I love being grounded in certainty. And because I didn't have that certainty, I thought, this guy doesn't seem like he's going to be the right one. He wants to control what I'm wearing. Why do I have to bring my dog with me to a restaurant or criticize me? Itsy bitsy little red flags. I said, this isn't the one.
Right.
So to move these aquariums was a really, that's the one that moved the needle.
Right. I really want to move this aquarium for this guy?
And it wasn't me. Obviously, I have a team of people to help me move, not just the one aquarium. It's like 5.
Right.
And that one was my biggest one, my biggest aquarium. And these are fish that are really unusual fish, which, I will not go into. Do I want to risk their life? And then it's not going to work out in a year or a year and a half? Yeah. Or I'm going to have a baby, and this is not the right one. Because once you have a baby, that's it.
Right. You're connected for life.
Now, my fish, even though it's a fish in water, they're my pet. They're my child. I love them. And I didn't want to risk them being, with new water and dying in an aquarium because of the move or something like that. It was just a risk every time you dismantle an aquarium and start it all back up again. And 9 times is a lot of moving.
It sure is. And I want to go back to what you said about a coach. And that really resonated with me because as an executive, I had business coaches throughout my career. And I went to therapy when I was going through that. So when you're about ready to embark on one of the most important decisions, which is who am I going to spend the rest of my life with, it makes 100% sense that you should have a coach helping you through that so that you're not making decisions based on an emotional reaction or an attraction based on a look, a physical appearance, but you have somebody helping you figure out your true north, your values, so that you are attracting the right person. And I never thought of it that way until you said that.
Yes, and what you're doing, you said it, you hit it right on the button, Lisa, is that when you marry again, you're going to repeat the same behavior and pattern. People act and live their life in predictable patterns daily. So if you don't break that pattern and change the narrative, change the story, you're going to repeat it over and over again. And that's what a coach does. They sit back and they watch what you're doing, and they readjust you, because it is the most important decision of your life, who you're going to marry. Now, when I got married to my husband Jim, the word divorce was not even on the table. That's it. This is it. And I'm committed for life. And that's because it's made under God, and it's a commitment to God. And I have to honor my word. My word is my bond. And how I live my life is with full intention and high integrity. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So I have friends from 40 years, 30, 40 years since I was in junior high. One from elementary school. And still friends to this day, because I have high integrity. I also have a lot of great secrets from a lot of clients. I don't tell anybody anything. In my books, I do talk about stories, but the names are always changed. But the stories are, I kind of have it sort of similar, but I always change names in my books. You were mentioning about the fears. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So one thing that I wanted to do is that many people have a lot of fears when they're considering dating after a long-term marriage, and some of them are unfounded. Some of them are because they've heard situations that a friend has gone through and they want to avoid those. So what are some of the common fears you hear about as a coach when people are thinking about dating after a long-term marriage?
Great question, Lisa. Well, stepping back into the dating world after a long-term relationship or a marriage can feel like jumping into a completely different universe. Dating is scary, the idea. So the most common fears I hear from my clients, and majority of my clients are over 45, 50 and have been married before. Am I too old to find love again? Or will I ever trust someone after my past relationship? What if dating has changed so much that I don't even know how to start? Or what if I waste my time and get hurt? The truth is, fears are completely normal. Fear, that's the acronym of false evidence appearing real, and it's just a story in your head. You can change that narrative if you choose to, and that's what a coach does. A coach helps you change that narrative. But if you don't have the control over yourself, that's why finding that right person to help you, to guide you, and also asking your friends and family and girlfriends, they're giving you advice from their experience, from their history. And so it's unfounded, and as well as it's not from a clinical place where it's from a fresh, clean slate.
Right. Yes. As you were saying that, I was thinking they may not have stepped back to do the work to love themselves again and discover what their true north is and
exactly
what values they cherish most. So you're in a different spot going into that dating world.
Correct. They're in a different spot if you get coaching. So what I teach my clients is to embrace dating as a new adventure, not a burden. So instead of focusing on what you fear, shift your mindset. As I said earlier, what if I meet someone who makes my heart come alive again? What if I discover a version of myself I never knew existed? What if this chapter of my life is even better than the last? Fear will keep you stuck. Faith, confidence, and taking action will move you forward towards love.
I like that because it's a shift in the mindset. It's a pivot from this happened to me and now I'm too old and I can't do this too. What does this open up for me now? What new opportunities are there? And so it makes you look at it from a different perspective. And I love that.
Yeah, it's about that, exactly, a new opportunity.
A new opportunity.
So it's not a failure. It's a learning lesson.
Yes.
And that's why God put us here, to learn.
Right.
And it's always lessons. Even when the day I'm on my deathbed, I'll be still learning. I'll still be reading positive thinking books and learning. I live by an acronym called CANI, which is constant and never-ending improvement. Constant and never-ending improvement. So I'm reading every day. I'm always nurturing my relationship with my husband, nurturing relationships with my friends. I connect on the phone. I don't just text. I'll text very little just for logistics, but I don't go into a whole dissertation or email. I connect with people on the phone. I have lunch with people. I make sure that people feel heard and nurtured and they feel cared for.
You're very good at that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Just in my short time of knowing you, I have definitely felt nurtured and embraced by you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is kind words.
Got an injury that just can't wait? There's no need to delay your care. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is excited to announce that our Urgent Ortho Walk-In Clinic is now available on Saturdays at the Gun Barrel Road location. Open from 8 to noon, we're here to treat sprains, strains, fractures, and more. No appointment needed. So skip the long ER wait and get specialized orthopedic care fast. Visit us this Saturday at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics Urgent Ortho. We're the center for expert care right when you need it. Learn more at sportmed.com.
Well, let's get into the online dating sites. Many of those apps have a reputation for being filled with people wanting fleeting connections. They call them hookups. And how do you then, if you've made that decision, you've done the work, you're ready to start, how do you design a profile that stands out and maybe increases your likelihood of finding a sincere match? And how do you avoid those people who just want the fleeting hookup connection?
Well, the fleeting hookup connection, you don't have to call me. It's okay. I'd rather somebody do that on their own.
Right.
And that's an easy one. There's Bumble. There's all sorts of. You can hook up with anybody if you meet them at the bank, grocery store, or anything like that. But it's your intention how you're living your life. Now, yes, online dating has a reputation for casual connections, but it's all what you make of it. But I always tell my clients, you don't have to date everyone, just the right one. Your online profile is your first impression, so it should be authentic, engaging, and designed to attract a quality partner. So in my book, Swipe for Mr. Right, I break down the perfect dating profile formula, which starts with a compelling positive headline. And here's an example. Adventurous foodie seeking a partner in crime for spontaneous weekend road trips. That's something fun. Another one is show, don't tell. Instead of saying, I love to travel, say, last year I hiked Machu Picchu, or I hiked the mountains of Italy, and I had the best gelato. And what is on your bucket list? Or I had the best espresso at this beautiful cafe. So use high quality recent photos. That's another one. No sunglasses, no group shots, and definitely no misleading filters. You don't want to do that because that's sort of like it is like lying.
That's like cheating.
It's cheating, yes.
Yeah.
Be clear about what you're looking for. For example, I'm here to find a meaningful connection with someone who shares my love for great adventures, conversation, laughter, and adventure. Be real, be intentional, and be specific. You increase your chances of attracting someone who is looking for exactly what you want. That's if it's exactly what you want. You don't want to say, I like to walk on the beach. That's so cliche. In fact, I said something like that on my profile, which is 2 short little paragraphs. I like walking on beaches, but if you own the beach, that's even better.
Right.
That was in Malibu. I was in Beverly Hills at the time.
Yeah.
So
that's perfect. So then what are some of the no-nos? What do we need to make sure we don't do in creating that online profile?
Great question again, Lisa. So avoid negativity. And here's a couple of examples. If your profile says no games, no drama, no liars, you're already pre-framing and you're coming across as jaded. Instead, focus on what you want. This is also good for affirmations and manifestations. Focus on what you want instead of the not. So don't overshare. Keep a sense of mystery. Men love mystery. You know, you don't want to open up and say, I have all these things and go into this long talking thing. You want to just do key points and sound bites. When you're speaking to men or even writing to a man likes a soundbite. If you watch Sports Central or any of these sports shows, there's women anchors as well. They short talk and short sound bites. When you see a female-dominated show, let's say Entertainment Tonight, they go into the longer story about how the dress was made, the diamonds and pearls and all the rhinestones that are on it. When you talk up to a man, whether it's about baseball, football, it's all on short sound bites. So there's no need to list past heartbreaks or vent about bad dates. Skip outdated or overly filtered photos, as I said earlier. And if your pictures are 10 years or older, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. So avoid generic cliches, kind of like saying, I love walks on the beach. Say something like, my ideal Saturday morning looks like this: a hike followed by delicious champagne brunch and a great book. The goal is to stand out by yourself, being yourself, confident, fun, and real.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So you have done that work and you have created a wonderful profile, and somebody is wanting to connect with you. How do you determine if they are authentic online? How can you look at their profile and quickly discern what's real and what might just be fake?
Okay, well, great question again. Especially in this day and age where we have Zoom and text and obviously the regular cell phone, authentic people are consistent. Their words, actions, and energy align. If someone is inconsistent or it makes you feel uneasy, trust your instinct. Especially as us as women, we have a very strong instinct, especially if you allow yourself to be centered. As I said earlier, grounding yourself in certainty. And that means stopping, breathing, meditating, praying. You need to stop and not move around so much and just stop and breathe and just be in the listening. So real people, they engage in real conversations. They their messages are generic. Are generic. They're repetitive or too perfect. They might be playing games. So you don't want someone like that. They don't rush into things. Love bombing. Or they want to get into a relationship moving too quickly or have excessive flattery can be a red flag. They're willing to meet. They're willing to meet in real life, but if they avoid video calls or meeting in person, they may not be who they say they are. If something feels off, it's probably off. And listen to your intuition. One of the things I get from a lot of people, especially now in the last 7 or 8 years, some people who have who don't want to talk on the phone, who don't want to go on Zoom, but they want to meet you in person. I strongly suggest not to do that. You need to meet somebody on Zoom and to see what they're like, or to at least talk to on the phone. Zoom is the best thing because you could see where they live. You can see if they're outside. You can see who they really are. If they're hiding, and sometimes I've heard this from many of my clients, they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to get on a Zoom, or they're making an excuse why they couldn't get onto that Zoom appointment.
Yeah, it's hard to be on a Zoom call if you are at home and have another woman living with you already, right?
Yes.
Not going on Zoom because you can't disclose your environment. That could be a red flag that they already are married and they're just looking for something else.
Or they're looking to take advantage.
Right.
They're from another country.
Yes.
And especially women over 50. There's a lot of predators out there who are on the hunt. Literally. And that's a whole another couple hours about what to avoid. There's a strong and there's nothing wrong with accents. I love a good British accent or French accent myself, but still, even with that, you want to see who they really are. Yeah. And if they don't want to get on Zoom, there's a red flag.
That's a red flag. I want to go back to something you said, and that is trust your intuition. So often women will set aside concerns thinking that, they're just being too picky. But I heard a quote, and I'm actually going to put this on my wall, and that is, if there is doubt, there is no doubt. So just tell yourself that. If you're doubting, then there's no doubt you have reason to doubt. So
but you can't pinpoint it, but you know that there's something.
Your intuition is always right. And I have found when I have ignored my intuition, it always comes true. And then I go back and go, well, I should have listened. I should have listened.
Well, what that is, I believe it's God, or it's probably God's angels talking to you.
Right.
So you got to pay attention and be present.
Yeah. So we need to pay attention to that. They won't get on a Zoom. You highly recommend Zoom call before you meet them in person. You want to see their environment. You want to see them face to face and see how open they are. And
even before you even go to coffee, you want to get them on a Zoom. And everybody does Zoom these days, or FaceTime.
Right.
Or even on Match.com, they have a Zoom or a camera thing back and forth. You don't even have to give it a phone number. You can see a photo, a video of them, live video.
Yeah, and Google Meets too.
Google Meets.
You can do Google Meets.
So there's no excuse.
There's no excuse. There's tons of way.
Correct.
So, okay, I like that. And let's talk for a minute about the scammers who are targeting older women, because I have to say, since I divorced, I am bombarded with friend requests from men that when you look at their profile, it appears as though that they are scammers. How can you discern if somebody is in that category?
Okay, so let's just say Facebook. You just had mentioned that, because I have been getting a lot of them myself. When you look at their profile, there's nothing there. There's no school. I mean, you see somebody with a stethoscope around his neck and, his hospital whites. It looks like a doctor. He has a picture of him in a hospital, but there's no background. There's nothing. And there's maybe 10 people who he's friends with. That's a red flag. And thank you for bringing that up. Another one, again, is that you can tell on a Zoom call, if they're avoiding the Zoom call or answering basic questions, or vague or inconsistent answers mean that they might be hiding something. They push boundaries too quickly. They want to meet you in person. definitely do not do that in person, even if it's for coffee. And if you just don't want to do that because it's not worth it. One, to get your makeup on, get dressed, meet them at the coffee shop, and you don't know what they look like. You need to see who you're talking to, because there's a lot of crime, whether it's kidnapping or being attacked or something. If someone insists on moving fast emotionally or physically, and that's another one to be cautious of. Their profile also feels too good to be true. As I said earlier, they look like they're a doctor because they have a stethoscope. Or they're sitting next to a luxury car next to a Rolls Royce, or over-the-top compliments, or perfect selfies that may not look genuine. So they never are available to meet. That's another one. If they're avoiding to meet, let's say you do meet them on Zoom, and you say to yourself, wow, this guy is like over the top. This is fantastic. I'd love to meet him. But they're always too busy, or not returning messages right away, or something seems to be off, or they don't pick up the phone after they've been talking to you for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think a lot of the scammers know that women who are divorced might be looking for somebody with money, so they tend to push that they are maybe a doctor or a lawyer, and they might picture themselves with a fancy car, just hoping to draw you in because you might be thinking, oh, I need to have a husband that has some money.
Mm-hmm. That's what they're looking for. Because there's women out there who are desperate and lonely, and there's predators out there ready to take their money. Or a woman who was recently widowed and has $5 or $10 million from an life insurance policy. That'll be gone if you fall into that trap.
Right.
And so that's why having a coach or people who are around you who really love and care for you, they'll tell you. But sometimes they don't even know.
Yeah. And that you brought up a great point, and that is don't do this in the dark, meaning talk to your friends or your coach about the people that you're encountering, because they can help provide a level of I want to say common sense. You know, they may have a sixth sense about that person that you might have a blind spot about. So don't, do your searching without somebody knowing, bouncing it off somebody, having a conversation that will help you sort through those whose intentions are not pure.
Exactly.
And then I wanted to just for a minute touch on those who, and I've experienced this, will reach out to you and via Messenger or even on the app, and will use flattery. And then if you don't respond, they will try and guilt you into responding. Can you share about some great ways to handle that?
When you see them asking you a question about that?
They'll ask a question, they'll flatter you, and then they'll ask you a question, and you if you don't respond, quickly they'll come back with, something to guilt you into responding.
Thank you for a great question, Lisa. So here's how I look at guilt. Guilt is only if you allow it in. And they're not paying your bills. You don't have to feel bad because someone's making you feel something. No one makes you feel anything. You if you take it in, then you feel that, whether it's guilt or happiness or whatever you choose to allow that in. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because if you're a people pleaser, you'll feel bad if you don't respond.
Exactly.
But you don't owe them anything.
No, you don't. And that's why in the very beginning of this interview, first thing I talked about is loving yourself.
Right.
When you love yourself, and you use the word worthy, I use worthy and respect. When you love and respect yourself, you don't let anyone pass that boundary, no matter who it is, a relative, a friend, a stranger. Oh, why didn't you call me back? It's like, well, who are you?
Right. Yeah.
And so, who are you to tell me what to do?
Shout that from the back of the room, girl.
Or the top of the mountain,
top of the mountain,
the tallest building, and tallest building.
You don't owe them anything.
No, you don't owe them anything, and it's not necessary. So let them be, and then next. Yeah, exactly.
Next. I love that. Mm-hmm. You're worthy. You're worthy of more. So
exactly.
All right. So we've talked about some good things regarding your online dating sites. Any other great sage advice you want to give us for online dating?
Well, one of the things is, again, it starts about yourself. When in a relationship, how do you feel at peace, or am I constantly overthinking this? Do we bring out the best of each other? Do I trust this person completely when you're getting into a relationship? Another one, that's not necessarily just for a romantic relationship. It could be meeting a new girlfriend, a new friend, a business relationship. Is how does this person make me feel? Are they making me overthink things? Are they bringing out the best in me? How do they treat me? Do they treat me with respect? Do they honor me? Do they honor my time? And in that right relationship, we all feel it. You want to be in a relationship where you feel safe, inspiring, and deeply fulfilling. And that's the connection with a human being. Mm-hmm. This is just human connection, not just a romantic relationship. And that's why in all the relationships that I'm in, it's not just about love, but respect, acknowledgement, attention, affection, and open communication. Part of that respect is being on time. That's respecting the other person as a human being. So that's our right to love and respect the other person. Does that make sense?
It does. So in your work with couples who are happily married long term, are those some of the commonalities that you typically will see?
Yes. Not only do I see in my practice, but also, out and about, I do meet a lot of couples. Even do my walking or at the gym, I see couples going to the gym all the time together. And you could tell they're elderly. And they're always holding hands going into the gym. And I'll just talk to one of them as I'm on the treadmill or on one of the other exercise equipment. And what is, I would strike up a conversation and ask, how long have you been married? And they'll say, 40 years, 50 years. And I would ask them, what is your secret to your successful relationship? And have you had ups and downs? Most of them have said, yes, we've had our ups and downs, but it's really loving each other. There's a phrase that I've caught on from different people, and I've kind of owned it myself, is especially with men. I said, how have you lived with your wife for so long? And he said, the secret is, I say, yes, dear, yes, dear, yes, dear. And it's really cute because it's just that respect. Uh-huh. And then even women say, I choose my battles with my husband. And they aren't really battles. It's just they know to reserve and not say anything. And when they want to say something, they're really heard.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
And that's the respect. They don't just start blurting out and start nagging their husband. That's the worst thing that can happen. Men don't like to be nagged.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to echo, when I was volunteering at the hospital, I would work with the couples as they were, somebody was going into surgery. And I always noted the couples who had been married long term, you could tell if they had a close connection because, as you said, there was that physical touch. They would be holding hands and you would take them into the room to see the wife, and it would be, hello, honey, baby, sweetie, and they would touch their shoulder and, they wouldn't let go of their hand, and they were just very physically connected and spoke to each other in very loving ways. Yeah. Very loving ways.
In that, another reminder, thank you for reminding me, Lisa, is that connection, and it's a deep friendship. They genuinely enjoy spending time together. And they have that mutual respect. They listen, they compromise, they uplift each other, and they have a shared vision of the future, even if they're in their 60s or 70s. So they align their values with the long-term goals, and they have consistent effort, as I had mentioned before, about the effort that I put in. It's like nurturing a garden. So they don't take each other for granted, and emotional security that they give each other. They can be fully themselves without the fear of judgment. And when you build that love over period of time, that friendship, the trust, the shared values, it stands the test of time forever and ever. And that's what marriage is about. Not just something that's temporary, not just something, well, let me have a baby with this guy so I can have my insurance. Some women do that.
Right.
And so that, I can just divorce him later on in a few years when the kids are 5 years old or something like that.
Yeah. So if you set up your online profile right, love yourself and be discerning, you can get to that point where you find somebody.
But it is even before you get to the profile, it's knowing who you are first and hiring the right coach to help you. Because a lot of people say, I don't want to spend the money on that. Well, then you're not investing in yourself. You are the CEO of your life. And who you hire, who you choose to have in your life for the rest of your life is taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is doing the right thing. It's like hiring a business coach if you're going into business.
Right.
And having a business plan, a sales plan, marketing plan. Even with a relationship, you want to write it down on paper. And even to talk about before you even get married, the finances. Who's going to do what? How are we going to invest in this? How are we saving money? Are we going on vacation? When are we going to cash out our 401k? Just a lot of things should be all out on the table first. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, well, especially if a young couple in their 20s, well, I thought you wanted 3 or 4 kids. And then he says, I never wanted kids.
Yes.
They find out afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And then they have to go through the expense and pain of a divorce and the grief of losing that relationship.
Exactly. And then the move again if they have a lot of stuff.
Right.
Which we don't want to go into that again.
Okay. Yeah, it's almost like pay me now or pay me later, make sure that you feel as though you are worth spending the money on to find the right person, to get right with yourself, to love yourself again before you embark on that next journey.
Yeah, and it is investing in yourself.
Yeah, it really is.
To hire a coach, whether it's in business, a personal coach, life coach, it's investing in yourself to be the best version of yourself. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is our life.
And there's nothing to be ashamed of, right?
Not at all. Not at all. It's pretty cool. I have a sales coach that I've had since 2004, and my other marketing coach since 2006. I have 5 coaches. My husband has 7 coaches, and he's also a business coach, a high performance business coach for executives.
Okay. Well, you've convinced me, that's for sure. If I ever decide that I'm going to jump in that dating pool, I'm not sure if I'll ever be in that, but I would definitely come to you first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no. So let's talk about all the years that you've worked with people. Is there a person or a couple whose story particularly moved you? And I don't want you to give names, but just think about, somebody's story who just really made a difference in your approach, and you just never forgot their story.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who have inspired me throughout my life. I've read lots of books and things like that, and a lot of people have inspired me. But right now, currently, I have to say, it's Melania Trump right now. Mm-hmm. There's Oprah at one time, Maya Angelou, and Mother Teresa, and other women. But what I've seen from the beginning when they first got into the White House and to now, and what he's gone through and what she's gone through, we don't have to go into anything about politics, but that relationship with him, with allegedly other women, and the way allegedly he's treated other people and things like that. She's been by him through thick and thin, and it appears that she's still there. She's not a stupid woman. She's very smart, and she keeps her poise. She keeps it to herself and keeps herself reserved. And they have a mutual respect. I mean, I see that, and me being a woman, you can see that on TV. Mm-hmm. You can feel it. You can see it. And she's very dignified, very poised, very elegant. And she doesn't let anything out, or her real true feelings. But you can tell she doesn't just swallow it, but it's how she perceives the story. And all it is a story. It's how you perceive it.
That's right. That's excellent. So what book's on your bedside table?
Well, it's the books I've had for a really long time. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read that when I was 5. Every year till I was about 16 or 17. My father said, read this. And I said, how am I going to do that, Dad? He said, well, here's a dictionary. Figure it out. So every year I'd read it, and I'd give him a book report and a summary of the book right before we would go to dinner for my birthday. And on my 6th birthday, he gave me the other book. This is the second book on my bedside, is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, Dale Carnegie.
Yep. Exactly. And so that's by my bedside. So those 2 books I read every year. I wrote a summary at my at the end, when it was my birthday, and before we go to dinner, I should say, and I would give it to him at my dad at the restaurant, and he'd read it. He says, "Good girl." He said, "We'll do this again next year." So we did go to the same restaurant during the year as well. It was a wonderful restaurant called Laurie's Prime Rib in Beverly Hills. And that was our favorite restaurant when we were a family.
Oh, gosh, that's wonderful. So I have read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie and recommend that highly. I'll have to pick up Think and Grow Rich. And so
I'm rereading that again. I'm on lesson 11.
Yeah.
And both books I highly recommend them for young children as well. And instead of going, having their phone and playing games and things like that, it will truly develop them to an adult, to being the best version of themselves. And like I said, we're only on this planet for a short time, and make it the very best. So your legacy of your existence is spread through people who haven't even been born yet. It's the unseen.
That's absolutely true. And I think that you are influencing a lot of people and changing lives. So, Dr. Renee, I am so thankful that you have joined me today. I think you've given people a lot of great advice and things to think about. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Lisa. I really appreciate this. And you're so kind to ask me to be on your show. I'm just honored and privileged.
Wonderful. Would you share with the listeners how we can get in touch with you?
Yes.
And your website, your social media, how we can purchase your books?
Okay. So thank you. Sometimes I forget to promote myself because I'm just always about giving and being of service. My book that's on Amazon right now is called Swipe for Mr. Right, Best Kept Secrets to Attracting Your Love Online. There's that one, and there's the other one, Finding Your Love at Last. 5 simple steps to attract your soulmate within 90 days or less. Or you can call me direct. I'm going to give up my phone number. Okay. It's 818-310-0775. Or you can text that number as well. Again, 818-310-0775. My website is reneelovecoach.com. Very simple. Renee, which is spelled Renee, lovecoach.com website. The email is renee@reneelovecoach.com.
All right.
So it's very simple. And again, I'm looking forward to connecting with your listeners, and I would be happy to give them a complimentary session. Just mention Lisa McCluskey, and I'd be happy to give you a bonus.
Wonderful. So just remember, if you would like a complimentary session, just mention Lisa McCluskey. I'll put that in the show notes. And Dr. Renee will make sure that you are on your way to finding lasting love.
Thank you. And you too.
Thank
lasting
you.
love to you too.
Thank you, Dr. Renee. Please join me on the next episode of the Silver Divorce Podcast. I also ask you to do me a favor and please follow this show and share it with people you know who are going through divorce. I'd love to hear from you at silverdivorcepodcast@gmail.com. This podcast is brought to you by our title sponsor, the Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and show sponsor, Medicare Misty. Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics is the area's leading provider of multi-specialty orthopedic care. Using innovative surgical techniques and technologies, our team of specialists deliver exceptional results backed by exceptional patient care. Learn more at sportmed.com. Medicare Misty is a real person who can help answer your Medicare questions. Get real help from her team at medicaremisty.com. Whether you are considering divorce or maybe you're newly in the divorce process, we'll help you on your journey and tell you things your attorney might not tell you. Until next time, remember, divorce, it's just one event. It does not define who you are. I'm Lisa, and I'll see you next time.